Which sport is better? Which is the better sport? Today, this match 3 of round 1, the prelims, also called preliminaries, is boxing or tennis or boxing. And so my beginnings with these, so let's start with boxing. My sister was over 2 years, 3 months older than me, close to 3 years. I was born at the end of August and she's the mid of September, and a 3-year gap, so like 1989 was her and 1992 was me. So that's almost 3 full years different. And so she liked to manhandle me when I was young and I didn't like it. So that's when I started to learn to push physically against her, which I was so much smaller. She was a really early bloomer. She had a growth spurt really young. I'm still growing, like in height, and I'm in my late 20s. So we're kind of at opposite end of the spectrums as to like development and that kind of thing. I ended up being taller than her. Currently by about 1 inch, I'm taller than her. But as a little kid, there would literally be times in my life where she'd be a foot and a half taller than me. And so I had to, and then we roughhoused kind of once we got past those early years for me. And I have a scar from where my sister kicked my glasses into my face. I used to wear metal frames. I switched over to plastic so it doesn't damage my flesh on my face if I get them kicked or hit into my face, or like a soccer ball hits them or something like that. So that was the very beginnings. When did boxing as like a sport, the formal side of it, kind of come in? I'm gonna take a wild guess. I was not yet a preteen or a teenager. So, and preteen was what, like 11, 12? It's like a super narrow range. I'm gonna guess my best guess is I was 10 years old. I was 9 or 10, I think. Excuse me, I just burped. We went to Costco, and it's kind of a fun story because it was something that all the women, so my mom, my sister, and I all got into a bit. We went to Costco and they had these punching bags that you could buy and hang in your house. So not like one of the ones where it's on something that you fill with water and then you kick and punch it. No, these were like the ones that one might find in a like boxing gym that hang from the ceiling and are very heavy. And my mom started wailing away on this punching bag, so my dad got it. And then my mom, my sister, and I used it. And it was an 80-pound bag, which as a 10-year-old, like, I was a little on the chubby side, but that was like 80% of my body weight, like approximately. I don't remember how much I weighed. I don't even remember my age exactly at this moment in time. I can't recall that factoid. But it was young, and so it was this huge bag, and so we hung it. Not all houses, first off, I should say. We were fortunate to live in a house. My dad and some of my family actually built like the entire floor of this house that I'm filming this in now. It's gone through huge remodeling for my family, so it's been built up and out by my family. And I'm actually helping build the bathroom addition this time. And so we were very fortunate to architecturally have a ceiling where we could hang the bag from, because an 80-pound punching bag is heavy and it puts a lot of weight on an individual beam. So we did have a place. It hung from chains in the basement, and so there are different types of boxing gloves. I think we got rid of, like rats got the boxing gloves or something like that, so we ended up having to throw them out. But we didn't so they're a big cushy, you can do no gloves, you can do gel gloves, and you can do the big puffy gloves that like a lot of music artists will put in like music videos and stuff. We didn't use those. We used gel gloves. They'll have like gel padding kind of over the knuckles, so if you're punching like a punching bag, it's closer to boxing without gloves than it is the big puffy rounded ones. And so we had that to protect our knuckles. My mom would get so mad if we pounded on the punching bag without gloves. So we had gel gloves as protection. In college, I did a little bit of kickboxing. So it's something, and then I've done survival boxing, which just means like real life scenarios where I use boxing as self-defense. and I'm alive, so I consider that successful. So that's kind of my boxing history. It's been off and on kind of my whole life, both in formal and informal and survival contexts. And then tennis, I started when I was approximately 6 years old, and tennis is a racket sport. We have 2 rackets left over. This is what one racket looks like. Has a grip. You it's like backhand and then forehand, if I'm remembering correctly. So I started when I was approximately 6 years old, and then I played off and on for approximately 8 years. So it wasn't like a continuous 8 years. It was like there were some years where I didn't play as part of the Innisarden Tennis Club. It was like mostly lessons. I did not compete in like formal tournament style matches. We did have matches and like practice and stuff. And I would play with my family. Like, it's a good source of exercise. I can still swing the racket and miss the ball. Yeah, and so for me, tennis was mostly social. I really liked the setup. It was good cardio exercise, and it was good. It's different, a different sport, especially a different ball sport. It's a small ball. A tennis ball is small compared to like a soccer ball or a water polo ball or something like that, or a football or a rugby ball. And yeah, so that's a lot more streamlined, the history of tennis for me. Watching them on TV, I would say I've definitely watched tennis more on TV than boxing. Yeah. And then, let's see, setup. Compare which one is the better sport. So they both require the ability to move fast and make small movements. Like how you hold your racket, like small differences in how much you twist your wrist and stuff like that can result in very different trajectories for the ball. So you have to be very precise in your movements, and same with boxing, because the placement of a punch could be the difference between a knockout and someone knocking you out kind of thing. So both require great precision in small movements, and both require short spurts of energy. So like even in tennis, you might have to run back and forth across the court, but that doesn't mean, you're not taking a punch like you might be in boxing. So it's not a contact sport. Both, boxing is a contact sport. Tennis requires a net, a racket, a ball, a partner, if you're playing doubles, and an opponent if you're playing singles or doubles, and then there's a court. And so I guess that's actually something that both sports are. They both are confined in space to a small area. So in tennis, it's the tennis court, and you're not allowed to go outside the tennis court, or you're out. In boxing, you're not allowed to go outside of the ring. So, and that kind of, since they're similar, singles and doubles. So tennis, you can play on your own, but you can also play with a partner. Boxing, you can box on your own, but you can't really box with a partner. That'd be kind of cool, with like brawling as an Olympic sport. That'd be interesting. But it's more of a single sport. I think both you can practice on your own. So like a punching bag is a good place to practice your different punches, different types of punches, different speeds of punches, practice your balance. And as the bag, a punching bag is nice because it swings if it's hanging. So then you actually get the movement of the bag, and so you have to adjust your movements and learn how to move without losing weight on your toes and your feet. Tennis also requires knowing your balance so you don't trip and fall while running across the court. I've been known to trip and fall. But you can actually, if you have, so you can work on serves by yourself, tennis serve, or if you have backboard, so like or just like a big wall, be it at a playground or somewhere else, you can hit the ball against the wall and practice on your own that way. So both sports, you can actually practice and become pretty good on your own. You don't have to have that practice partner to prepare you for the sport itself. Like that's always a nice, but like it's always a nice thing to have. But if you're the only person you know who likes boxing, or is willing to like box just for fun, that kind of thing, or do tennis just for fun, and you don't have anybody who is willing to do that with you, both sports, you can develop a foundational skill set on your own. I think in terms of expense, boxing upfront costs, tennis might cost more. You need the right shoes, you need you need a court, you need the balls, you need the racket, you need stuff like that. Boxing, on the practice side of things, it is more expensive than tennis, but on the actual like competition level, depends on how much equipment you use in your competition level practice. I will say though, on the medical side of things, depending on if you get a broken rib or like a severe internal bleeding and you need to go to the hospital, stuff like that, that's more common in boxing. So the medical expenses side might, you can still hurt yourself in tennis, but it's more common in boxing to get severely wounded to the point of needing or requiring some form of medical attention, be it at a hospital or self-care. A lot of athletes, including myself, find I've hurt my knees enough times, I find solutions on my own that doctors might not have even recommended. That's one of the perks of being an athlete, I will say, or doing things that are very physical, is eventually can find solutions on my own, or I have found I can find solutions on my own, so doctors aren't always necessary. Especially if it's a repeated thing, then I'm like, okay, I have what I learned this first time, but it's also, I'm starting to get a little tired of it, so there's a wear aspect here that I can account for. And in my experience, that might actually be better than at the doctor's office. So boxing or tennis, which is the better sport? I think it depends on what you're looking for. I think in terms of pure physical exertion level, boxing intent requires you to kind of always, or someone who's boxing, you kind of always need to be moving on your feet. And there's a really big strength component to it about, well, hopefully you're matched with someone in a similar weight class, but you need to be ready to take a blow from someone approximately your own body weight. And so there's, I would say, a very real strength component that doesn't carry to tennis, and the real life, I think it's gonna have to go with boxing, the real life application of boxing in survival contexts as a self-defense skill is a very, very useful thing to have. So versus like in tennis, if I have a tennis ball, I could throw it at someone, but tennis balls don't really hurt unless you're like, someone like hits it with a racket really hard, but even then it's like, it just stings. But like, unless I'm walking around with this and it's meant to bounce, like you'd have to hit someone with the edge for it to be a good self-defense thing, but even then it's like, but know how to use your body. Relying on having a tennis racket to, like, as a form of self-defense that someone could just take away from you and then use against you too. Boxing, know your body, how to use it, and how to use it to defend yourself. That's gonna have to take it from me. Boxing, which sport is better? Boxing, largely for the physical exertion component, strength component, and self-defense components. So boxing takes this match.